Hello, Keith Rucker here at VintageMachinery.org. Guys, today we're back working over here on the 10EE lathe, and I've been working on scraping in the saddle. Previously, we've checked this thing out. We've checked the bottom ways. They seem to be in pretty good shape. I have scraped the bottom of the cross slides. Now I'm working on the dovetails. Now to do this, with scraping, a lot of it is getting your work positioned where it's easy to do your scraping. Scraping is a lot easier to do level or at a very small angle than it is at real steep angles. You find yourself having to get over in weird angles and stuff to do your scraping with. And to simplify things, sometimes it's just easier to reposition your work so that things will be better. Ideally I'd have this kind of leaning toward me, but the angle's not too bad. I think I can come in here and scrape this. Also got the height right on this saddle where it's at a nice convenient height, so I'm not standing on my tiptoes or squatting down. It's right there at there. And to do this, I just made a little jig fixture, whatever you want to call this, out of some 2x4s. Just screwed them to the bench to kind of bolt or just mount this compound where it's standing up and down. And again, now I can come in here and get into that dovetail and scrape with no problem at all. So with the dovetails, I personally have found that because it's such a small area that you're scraping and you're going up into that blind corner, that it can be difficult sometimes to do this with the power scraper. So we're going to do it old school way, just hand scraping with a hand scraper. Shouldn't take a whole lot to do this. Now, what I will do is right now, what I want to do is I want to get this surface here in a flat plane all the way across. When I measured this, there are some differences in the thickness, so I know that it's worn in some areas and not in the other, but we want to just get it all the way across. And we'll use a straight edge here with a dovetail on it, and we're going to actually use that dovetail. We'll come in here and drop it in the back, pull it back down to the dovetail, and we'll glue it up right there until we get a nice good contact from one end to the other on the inside of that dovetail. Once that's done, we'll flip over, do the same thing on the other side, but we've also got to check it for parallel to make sure it's parallel to this one, so we may have to do some scraping to kind of get it. You can have two flat planes, but if they're tapered, when your cross slide is sliding on that, it's going to get tighter and tighter as it goes in, so they have to be parallel to one another. All right, let's get in here and start doing some scraping. You can see a little close up here of this little mounting bent fixture that I made. Again, I just have some 2x4s kind of going up vertical. I got these where they're sitting on the flat ways on either side. Had to notch out here around from my top on my bench, and we just put these on some pieces, and I just literally just screwed it into the bench. And then we got a piece here that's got a big long carriage bolt that goes through the bench, and it just kind of clamps it and pulls it all together. And it's fairly sturdy as my bench is, and we're ready to go. So I'm going to come in here with the hand scraper, and we're going to scrape a crosshatch pattern in both directions on this, and then we'll come in here and glue it up and start looking to see how flat it is. So let's do some scraping. When I'm doing dovetails, I use this little narrow scraping cutter here, and I find it's just a little bit easier. Also, I have ground the top off of this, so this only cuts on one side, but that keeps me when I come into the bottom. If I hit the bottom down there, it's not as likely to scratch up the piece right there in the back. So just a little trick there for doing dovetails. This is pretty much a cutter that I use just for dovetails. And we're just going to kind of come in here and we'll just scrape these out. I'm just doing a long stroke. Just going pretty much the whole length here down into the bottom. It's a little bit slower than normal just because you kind of got to start it in the right place, and there's too many things to run into in these dovetails. We'll just continue across until we get it all the way across. And now we'll come back from the other direction and scrape it out in this direction. Got you looking straight down on there, and if you look real close, you can see the little chips back there in the back that we scraped out. I'm going to just sweep those out with a brush, and then we'll get a stone and stone this. This is just removing any burrs that might have come up on that. There we go. And if you notice, we got a crosshatch pattern on it. You know, it's just a rough first pass. I'm going to blue up my straight edge now. We'll come in here, we'll touch this off, we'll see where the high spots are, and we'll start scraping down the high spots until we get coverage from one end to the other, just like we do on any other kind of scraping. Got my straight edge, got the dovetail blued up. I'm going to come in here, we'll just kind of drop that down into the bottom corner. And I'm going to lean it forward until the dovetail is touching. We'll slide that back and forth in there, trying to keep it flat on the bottom of the dovetail. Pull it out. Hey, I've actually got pretty good coverage there. So if you look at this, I'm shocked that it's that uniform. I would have thought there would have been more of a area worn in here. I guess the wear that's causing it to be uneven is more on the other side, which is I believe the Gibbs side. I don't know, I have to check. This may be the Gibbs side here. I'm not sure. But anyway, that actually looks pretty darn good. I might just go in there and see if I can, I don't know, I might just leave it like it is. I've broken that up pretty good with the scraper, so we've got some place for the oil to go in there now. We may flip this thing over and start working on the other side and getting it going, but that's pretty darn good. I've got the saddle flipped over now. Because of the difference in the length of the two ends, I had to raise the platform that sits on up a little bit. This is at a nice comfortable height again for me to do my scraping. Anyway, we're ready to go again here now, just with a little modification. Like I said, I just had to take that bottom board off and move it up a little bit. To get it, we got it clamped back in. It's good and tight. So we're ready to come in here and once again, scrape across here. Here we are again. Our straight edge is blued up on that dovetail. We'll come in, drop this down, lean it forward to the angle. And again, go back and forth and let's see what kind of pattern we get this time. All right, this is more what I was expecting. All right, so what we're looking at now is actually, we've got a little bit of coverage touching here in the middle. Now, according to my measurements, when I measure these across the pins, just kind of letting you know what's going on. So this end down here was the widest. This is at the front. That's where the least amount of wear took place. The second least wear is on this end down here. And again, you see here, but it's a little bit more narrow than up here. And then this middle area was where most of the wear took place. So this is matching what I'm seeing on my numbers pretty good. Now, one thing I've got to take into consideration though is that when I measure these, I was getting, I'm just going to say this was 15 and a half, 15 and a half, 15, then it dropped down to 14 and a half, 14.2, 14.2, then got into the upper 13s and then back up to 14 down here. So bottom line is that we've got more wear on this end than we do on this end. So I'm going to start by not hitting all the blue on here. I know that my thickest area is down here on this bottom. So I'm going to do a little bit of scraping just in this area. And then I'm going to come back in here, and that should drop everything down. And theoretically, it's probably going to make it pick up a little bit more here in the middle when I do, by just dropping this end down. Eventually, I'm going to have to scrape a little bit off of this end, I think, and then that should hopefully all kind of come in. So I'm going to do a set of scraping just on the blue area down here on this end. We'll come in here and blue it up again, and then kind of go from there. But I'm not only working on getting this coverage from one end to the other, but I also want this to be the same width so that this dovetail slide is parallel to the one on the other side. Right now, it's got a little bit of different variability in it. So we're going to try to work both of those things out simultaneously. So we'll start by scraping down here. The blue kind of tells a story, so I'm just going to kind of come in here and just scrape this blue area. And I'm going to come back from the other direction and kind of do it as well. All right, I did scrape the other direction. I was in the way of the camera, so you guys didn't see that, but we did scrape it in both directions. I'll just get that blue out of there. We'll get our stone here. Stone it. And I'm gonna blue it up again and see what we're looking at. And after probably a couple of passes, we'll get some more measurements across the pins. Okay, still printing a little bit heavy down here. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of hit this area and this area, and we'll take blue it up again, and then I'll probably get some measurements across the pins. And I'm actually printing pretty even across there now, but I'm not sure that my thicknesses are right. So I think what I'll do is we'll clean this blue out, and I'm going to get a new set of measurements across here and decide if we need to continue working in one area or the other, kind of getting the parallelism worked out. So again, let me show you what we did here. I took 2 gauge pins, one on the top, one on the bottom, put them in the dovetails, and I came in here with a micrometer and we measured across, and I got the measurements. These are comparative measurements. The distances don't really mean anything. I was only writing down the thousandths and basically thousandths and half thousandths. So I was just kind of estimating the tenths on these. And what I've got is this is pretty uniform. We've got 1,000th distance between the high spots, which are the 50s, 5.0s, here, 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 and here. There's a couple of 4s right here, and then we've got a couple of 4.5s in here as well. So again, just maybe a little bit high on the ends. You know, that one there may have been an anomaly, that 5 right there, but maybe just a little bit high on the ends. I think what I'm going to do is we're going to blue this up again, and I could tell a while ago it was printing a little bit heavy on the ends. We're going to scrape those maybe one more time, and then just from there we're just going to go for coverage from one end to the other. Honestly, 1,000th of an inch difference in these probably won't make any difference, but I would like for it to be less than that if I can. It'll just make it more smooth as you move your cross slide in and out. So anyway, we're going to blue it up. We'll scrape it another time or two, but this is actually coming in way faster than what I anticipated. This has turned into be a pretty simple little job here. I was expecting this to be a lot more involved. There we go. That matches pretty good on the measurements. It is printing heavy on the ends, although we are making light contact all the way down through here. So again, I think what I'll do is I'm just going to hit the blue areas, and I'll probably just do a one pass on the blue areas, and then we'll do it again, another couple of times until I get my coverage right. So that's the game plan. So we're just hitting the blue. I did just come in here and remeasure these. These are the old numbers, but everything measured either 4.0 or 4.5. So we're within half a thou on parallelism from one end to the other across the pins. But again, I really trust that straight edge more than I trust these measurements. The fact that we've got good coverage from one end to the other tells me we've got a nice flat plane. So I think we've got this thing scraped out. So now we're going to go put it back on the machine and check and see how square this is to the ways up underneath the bottom, and if necessary, make some change to the scraping on the actual saddle ways that runs on the bed to tweak it to get it this parallel, or square rather, so that we make sure that when we're coming across this, we're making a square cut. So let's go check that out. All right, I've got the saddle back over here just up on the ways of the lathe, and I think I got the cart a little before the horse here. Before I can check this for squareness, we've got to do a little bit of work to the cross slide itself. So this is the cross slide, this is the bottom of it, and just kind of familiarizing you with it. So you got the fixed side, which is this side. This will be over, it'll flip over. This is the nut, then the bottom that the bolt goes through, or the lead screw goes through to move it in and out. And there's a movable gib in here, a tapered gib right here on this side. I don't see if you can see how well that is, but that's tapered. There's a screw on the front and the back, and you basically move that in and out. And as you do, that tightens this up. So as this wears, you can tighten things up a little bit. So I need to get this scraped in and sliding over here like it needs to before we can test it for squareness and start tweaking in the actual bottom of the saddle. So I think what we're going to do is go ahead and get this thing kind of taken apart. I need to take the nut off, take the gib out, and first thing I need to do is check it out and see if we can just scrape this in, or whether it's making contact with the top of the ways here. If so, we'll have to put some turkite in here to kind of raise this back up a little bit. We'll figure that out here in just a minute. And also check the alignment for the nut. While I'm at it, I might as well just go ahead and check the backlash in this nut, and if necessary, either buy or make a new nut. I don't know if it needs it or not. But we're going to do all that, check all that out real quick here, and then get started on scraping this in. So let's start by getting this gib out of here. There are two screws, one on the front and one on the back, and like I said, you tighten loosen these up, and that kind of positions the gib in that slide. So let me go ahead and get this one in the back out. All right, there's the gib. This is the wear side. That's the side that just goes up against the back. All right, let me set this over here. If I flip it over, got a couple of screws here. Actually, just one of them is holding the nut in. Screwdriver's just a little bit too big. Let's see if I can get it. Yeah. All right, that's just a pin to kind of hold it in place. This one here isn't actually attached to the nut. I'm going to leave it in there for right now. It's not hurting anything. And we got a socket cap screw that actually tightens the nut in place. And and it has already come out. All right, we'll pull that out, and there's the nut. Just kind of put this over here. I want to slide it up on here. So the first thing I want to do is look and see there's not much clearance across the top of this. In fact, I'm going to test something here. I'm going to pull it all the way out. I'm going to have to scrape the bottom of that cross slide, and when I do, it's going to lower it down even more, but I want to see if it's actually hitting right now in this area, because there shouldn't be any contact across this top. All the contact should be on the bottom or on the dovetail. So I'm just taking some Sharpie here, and I'm just putting some on here to see if we got any contact going on. Doesn't have to be solid. I just want to see if any of it comes out of there. Cross slide back on. Pull it back out. And really and truly, I think we've got clearance. Okay, that's good. I see some scratches in here, but the scratches are probably just from where there's gotten some trash or something in there, some chips or something like that, but it doesn't look like it's actually making any direct contact. That's good. All right, what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to scrape the bottom of this and get it flat. I'm going to start it on the surface plate until it blues up good on the surface plate, and then we will probably come over here and blue up the bottoms of these and actually rub them and check it, because this is what's going to actually be sliding on. So, but we'll start on the surface plate. These are in the same plane, so hopefully that'll be good there. So let's go get those scraped, and then we can work on this dovetail over here. Well, guys, I think that's going to be a wrap for this video. It's getting kind of long, so we're going to kind of break this up and come back and finish this up in the next episode, where we get the cross slide finished up, mounted on the machine, and ready to move on to the next step in getting this Monarch 10EE lathe up and running. Join us back soon. We'll get this thing wrapped up and hopefully have this machine running here real soon. Guys, with that is a wrap. As always, thanks for watching. Please do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Those thumbs up and comments, always greatly appreciated. Hit that bell icon up there to get notifications when new videos are posted. Leave a comment down below. That helps out a lot as well. And a big, huge thank you to those who support the site financially through Patreon, PayPal, and through YouTube memberships. It does enable me to take the time to shoot these videos, do all the editing, and everything else that goes along with running a YouTube channel that doesn't involve working in the shop. It's a lot of time. And with that, guys, we're going to sign off. We'll get out of here. We'll catch you on the next video. As always, thanks again for watching.